I'm Emily Pennells and I'm a commercial proposition manager. It's quite a diverse role. There's a lot that goes into it, but I suppose at a really high level, it is my responsibility to tell our business what we should sell, what products and services we should sell, to which customers, in which regions, and for how much money. It's sometimes called proposition, which is what's in my title, customer proposition. It's sometimes called commercial strategy, business strategy, business development strategy. Don't be too concerned about what the title is. There are various different things that you could, I guess, search for, but anything that talks about the ability to think about customers, think strategically, think about how the business makes money and use that skill set. You might find that in various different industries it's called something slightly different, but in a nutshell we all kind of do the same thing, work out what the customer wants, how to build it, how to deliver it, and how much we should charge for it. That's kind of what we do. So in Scotland, I guess it's slightly different from the English education system. So instead of GCSEs, we have what's called standard grades. And instead of A-levels, we have what's known as Highers. Standard grades, I did all the kind of normal ones. When it came to do my Highers, which ones I wanted to go on and study a bit more, I was quite lucky with my parents. My sister's a bit older as well, so she was able to give me a bit of guidance. And they just said, do what you think is what you enjoy the most. I did English, modern studies, maths, that's an important one. I did drama, RMPS, which is religious, moral and philosophical studies. So I was much more kind of focused on all of the more sort of arty and I guess language type social sciences rather than physics and maths and biology and all of that kind of actual science. That was what my choice was. I always knew I wanted to go to university. Don't know why, it's just I enjoyed education. And I decided to study psychology and media studies, which don't really go together very well. So I had only 2 universities I could pick from that would offer that as a joint degree, and I ended up going to Stirling University. So I did psychology with the emphasis on clinical and abnormal psychology, and media studies with the emphasis on production, so video production and sound production. There is no specific piece of education or a qualification that you need to do in my role, other than that for this company particularly that I work for, you as a recruitment strategy you have to be educated to a degree level or equivalent. That's just the policy of this company. What's useful for what I do now is anything to do with communication. So drama, although it might not sound like it, because I, as a young girl doing drama, I really wanted to become an actress at one point. And when I realised that wasn't going to go anywhere and wasn't going to make me any money, I had to think about something else. But some of the skills that it teaches you, I think are transferable. So how to speak in front of people, how to be confident, how to kind of engage with your audience. For me and for what I do every day, that is really quite a key skill. Also being kind of au fait with the written language. I have to do a lot of presentations, I have to write a lot of emails, I have to write a lot of papers internally, so being able to communicate really well using the English language is also quite a key skill. What I think is useful, certainly from my background, is before I did this, my background is in management consultancy, and that kind of consultative approach is really important with what I do. So I speak a lot to customers, and I speak a lot to internal customers or internal stakeholders, other teams. And so being able to kind of facilitate that discussion, to think and talk to a customer about what really is your need, and then be able to understand that and go back and explain that to the business or somebody else within your business or your team is really quite important. Being able to demonstrate that you are able to think analytically and critically, and also work with numerous different people. So I'm just as comfortable talking to, I don't know, the lady that comes in to clean the office as I am the CFO or our CEO. And having that's an actual skill that you have to learn and hone, because not everyone is comfortable speaking to someone in leadership roles or authority, and maybe even sometimes challenging their thought process. But they're human, you know, they just put their trousers on one leg at a time like the rest of us. And once you can kind of get over that and think about the fact that really what you are is almost a facilitator for discussions to happen to get to the right answer, then it kind of takes any of that worry away. And I think that's that kind of leadership, stakeholder management kind of courses that you can go on are always going to be really helpful. In this role, certainly, you need to be somebody that's a little bit outgoing, someone that likes to chat, as I'm sure you'll realise I am that kind of person, so is my boss. Somebody who's not, I guess, afraid to ask a lot of questions. Certainly, in the workplace, it's no different from what I remember it being like at school. People don't necessarily always want to be the one to stick their hand up and say, I don't really understand, for fear of looking foolish or whatever. But I've learned over the years to not worry too much about that, because 9 times out of 10, if you're thinking a question, someone else in the room is as well. They're just too afraid to ask. And I work with a lot of SMEs or subject matter experts, so developers, accountants, actuaries. No way am I going to know enough about what I'm talking about in a particular subject to go toe-to-toe with someone who's got a qualification in it. But what I know from background of consultancy is how to sort of say, excuse me, I don't understand that. Can you speak it to me in layman's terms? You said this and I didn't quite understand it. Can you explain it to me? Because if I understand it, I'm going to be able to explain it to multiple people in the business and also to the customer as well. So someone who likes learning, who's not afraid to ask questions, who likes getting involved. For me, if someone asks me a question internally, because our team is kind of a little bit of a knowledge hub, there's a lot of expertise in our team and people do ask us a lot of questions about how things work. And if I don't know the answer, 9 times out of 10, I've got enough of a network in the company that I can point you in the right direction to say this person can answer that question for you. But because of my personality type, I would not just leave you to go off and ask that question. I want to come with you because I want to know the answer to it, so that next time I know that answer. So I'm like a little sponge. I always like to absorb more information. So that's a really good personality trait. And I think maybe somebody that just likes to be around people. I love being around people. I love speaking to people, interacting with people. I'm quite social. The worst thing for me would be to sit in a cubicle and never speak to anyone all day or never leave the office. That would just be my idea of hell. So I think those are probably quite good personality traits to have in this kind of job. I am quite old and I've had a job basically since I was about 13. So from babysitting through to waitressing. So I was a waitress at a corporate function suite at a football club, and that sort of taught me how to, again, interact with public and sort of always be adaptable and amenable, because you're always putting on that professional face, and as soon as you walk kind of away from the customer, you're in the kitchen and it's frantic and you're having to try and cope with what's going on. So it's multitasking right there. When I went to university, I actually went to work for Asda and I worked on the checkouts. I did sort of the checkouts, I did the customer service desk, and then I became what's known in Asda at least as a checkout runner, which if you've been into any of the supermarkets is the person with the like headset or the telephone that's running around trying to fix things. So again, multitasking, working under pressure, all of those kind of things I think instill in you something that's useful no matter what career you want to go into later on in life. Then when I left university, I had to go and move home, and that was a bit of a culture shock. And I was taking any and every shift that I could get at Asda whilst I figured out what on earth it was I wanted to do with my life. And my sister worked for a bank in a call centre, and she said to me, you could come and work at the call centre, you'll get a little bit more money. It's not your chosen career, but at least you'll get more money and it'll be steady income whilst you figure out what you want to do. So I went and did that, and that was okay. So I was in credit card servicing, basically on the telephone, hello, thank you for calling Bank of Scotland or Halifax, how can I help you today? And it was all of credit card inquiries, when's my payment going to come out, what's my balance, all of that kind of stuff. And then after about 6 months or so, I got asked if I wanted to join an internal project. They were going to look at some service excellence and customer journeys and make them better. So I did that for about a year, working with an external company about how we look at customers and how we change our services to meet customer needs, be more flexible. And that was really successful internally. That was piloted. And then off the back of that, I became an internal consultant for that method. So I did that for about 18 months, going around the country to our different sites, helping teach other customer service advisors and managers how to implement this new way of working. And then 2009 happened and the banking crisis happened and everything changed, and Halifax Bank of Scotland were in a lot of trouble, got bought out by Lloyds Banking Group, and everything that I'd worked on for the past sort of 2 or 3 years all got put in the bin. I found that really upsetting. And so I said, right, this isn't for me anymore. I don't want to do this. Don't want to go back to my old role of sitting on the telephone. I've learned too much and I feel like I've grown. So I got offered a new job in the new company and I turned it down and I quit my job, and I phoned up the external company that had come in to teach us how to do that, and I asked them for a job and I went to go and work for them. So they were a management consultant, so they basically have a method of implementing service excellence, customer excellence, and they have very different clients all across the country. So they deal with private sectors like banks, Vodafone, people like that. They deal with public sectors, so local authorities. So I worked for them for 5 years on various different projects all over the country, getting a lot of experience around those different sectors, getting to try and implement change, going in and understanding what does this business do, who are their customers, and how can we improve things for the customer, which in turn helps that company make more money, because the more happy your customers are, the more things they buy from you, is the thinking. And I did that for 5 years, really quite successful, and I enjoyed it. But after a while, working non-stop, away from home, Monday to Friday, sometimes Sunday to Friday, it's really, really tiring. And I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. And that's when I found the company that I'm currently working at, which is a financial data company. I came here to be a business analyst. So the thinking behind that was I've been working in projects for about 10 years now. And I can I've worked with loads of business analysts, I've worked with loads of project managers, and I've got that analytical skill, and I could probably put that to good use. So I worked in one of our project delivery teams here, working with customers to try and implement the solution that they wanted us to build for them as a business analyst. And then my current boss got a little bit busy in the job that he was doing, and he needed some help, and he spoke to me about it, and I applied for that job, and now here I am. There is no such thing as a typical day, because each day is really different. Typically I'll come in and first thing I'll be doing is checking my emails and checking my schedule for that day. First thing I'll do is come in and check my emails and my schedule, check and see which meetings I've got for that day, start prepping for the ones that I need to, or if I've already prepped for them the day before, I might be looking at tomorrow's meetings and thinking about what prep work I need to do. We've got an internal mailbox that our team monitors. So I'll be looking through that, seeing if anything's been flagged for me, for my attention, or reading through things that haven't been flagged and seeing whether or not it's something I should be dealing with or one of my other colleagues. That's internal traffic. So that will be anyone from the sales team who might be saying, I've met this customer and they have this particular problem and I'm not quite sure how we can fix it. Can we fix it? Have we got a solution? Have you come across this before? Those kinds of things. Or it might be from somebody in the operational team saying, we're looking to implement this kind of change within a particular product or particular service. Have you got any insight? Have you got a view on how this might affect most of our customers and what's the right way to go about it? Or it might be something like, because we're in control of all of our pricing for this particular situation, it's a bit odd and we don't have a price list number for it. Can you help me come up with what you think is an appropriate number? If I've done all of that kind of emails, I might be looking at meetings. So the meeting will be something, if it's with a client, it will be helping the sales team to discuss a particular delivery or product or solution and helping them demonstrate that and talking to them about the technical aspects of integrating that, answering some of their questions, or trying to kind of get more detail using some of my previous skills as a business analyst to try and think about questions that the product or operational team will want answered before we can deliver that to that client. For me personally, what I enjoy about my job is the fact that it's varied every single day. I like the fact that I'm not 100% office based. This office that I'm based in is in Surrey, but it's 20 minutes on the train up to London Waterloo, and we've got an office in Soho as well. A lot of our clients are based in London, so I'll be up there at least once a week. And I like the fact that I'm kind of cross two different sites. We've got offices in Europe as well, and I have to go out and speak to clients in Europe too. So that aspect for me is really quite enjoyable. And I like the fact that I'm getting to speak to all different areas of the business. So no matter what the challenge is, 9 times out of 10, if it's a really big problem or a big new delivery for a client that we need to work out, there'll be 7, 8, 9 different teams involved. And I like going out and speaking to all of those people, understanding why they're interested, what they need to know from me, how it's going to affect them, trying to coordinate all of that. It's almost like a little mini project in itself for you. Think about project managers who look at different work streams. That's kind of what I do on a much, much smaller scale a lot of the time, to try and think about weighing up, okay, if it's going to take this amount of people to implement this change or project that we need to do, and it's going to cost us X amount, and we've got Y number of clients, what's the number that we need to charge all of those clients to make this make sense for the business and turn a profit? What can be most challenging is also what I love about it, which sounds really ridiculous. But because no 2 days are alike, often there is no routine, and I'm not, it's not always easy for me to make plans and see lots of people. So that can be a bit of a challenge. The fact that I have to speak to so many people often can be frustrating because I am kind of in what's known as, I guess, a support function. I have a lot of autonomy, I have a lot of decision-making power myself, but often I have to wait for 3 or 4 people to make a decision about what's going to happen before my bit comes into play, and that can be a bit frustrating. You probably have to start thinking about businesses and what you can learn about how businesses are run. So be that, I guess, going and working for somebody like Asda or Tesco's and just kind of understanding how it all fits together, how the business itself, not that particular role, but the whole business works and how it makes money. That's quite important. Any kind of analytical kind of roles that you can do where you are learning how to look at a problem, look at it from different angles and think about various different solutions to it is quite useful. There's no one set way. This isn't a job like a doctor. You go and you go to medical school, and you try a few different things and you pick your specialism, and one day you're a brain surgeon. And as you can see from my background, my degree is absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing now. I've got a degree in how to edit a film, for example. That doesn't help me on a day-to-day basis. But some of the transferable skills do. So thinking about what kind of things like time management and working to deadlines, all of those kinds of things will help in any kind of business situation, I think. Any kind of role where you're thinking about the customer, if you are interested in this type of role, commercial, how businesses make money and how you set prices, the customer is always key in everything that we do. It's really important to understand who your customers are, why they use you, and what they need from you. Because once you understand that, you can start thinking about how you can deliver it in a better way, which in turn will make you more money because they're more willing to stay with you and spend more money with you. And that's ultimately what it's about at the end of the day. I think younger me worried a lot about what decisions I was making, the choices I made at school. I was worried as a 14-year-old if the choice was going to mean that I couldn't get a certain higher, which was going to mean I wouldn't be able to get into a certain university, except it doesn't matter at the end of the day, unless you want to be something like a doctor or a lawyer. And even then, if you've gone to university and then you suddenly realise there are courses nowadays that you can do to transfer your skills and do access courses. Don't worry about that too much. I think just do what you enjoy. If there's a particular subject that you really enjoy and you think you're good at, pursue that. Because even if it's not something that directly translates into a job, if you're good at it and you enjoy it, there'll be an abundance of skills that you can learn from it, which will be transferable. If you want to go into further education, for example, I'd definitely try and pick a place that you feel comfortable, a university or a college or a campus where you feel like you fit in, and a subject that you enjoy. I wouldn't worry too much about anything else. Don't worry too much about the future, because actually there are so many paths that you can take, and whatever you're doing I've said it before, but I'll say it again, whatever you're doing that you enjoy will always yield really good results for you. And just kind of have the courage of your convictions. If you're really passionate about something, well, follow on through with that and see where it takes you. What have you got to lose?